All right, everybody. How are you? Welcome to the Great Transition. This is an invitation. This show is an invitation for the Great Transition that is invited. We are invited to by nature itself. This is what's happening today. Everything you see around you, all the all the stuff that's happening in the news, all the conflicts, the virus, the economic implications of it, all the weirdness, all the um, strange 21st century. That whole thing is driven by nature. We're moving as human beings in a bigger process right now, where we are being shaped and molded into some sort of a new thing, a new creature, a new something, and we're calling it the Great Transition. So, Seth, what is that thing? We only hear your beautiful voice right now. It's all good. Wow. Hmm. Hmm. Uh, we Houston, we have a problem. Yeah, I'm getting messages that we cannot hear you. So we don't hear Seth. So this is I can hear you. So this has to be on my end. Um, so we have some sort of an issue here. Not sure what it is, but yeah. Okay, okay. I sorry. I do know what it is. It's my bad.
Okay. We up?
I'm
We good?
sure everyone can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
somebody
Thank
said,
you everyone for letting us know. And I
yes,
think
Erica, we
I
see your comments and somebody said we can't hear the other guy. That
the
was
other guy
okay.
was just saying what
Okay,
were
so
you
you can hear
saying,
me.
Seth?
Okay, Sheila. Hi, Sheila in Nairobi. Sheila in Nairobi was telling us that she can't hear me. That's unbelievable. Okay, hi everybody. Thank you for being
See,
with us. Okay, what I was
it's all part of the plan. It's all part of the
yeah,
intricate
it was a special
plan
effect.
to connect the whole world. We had to have someone from Nairobi, you know, trying to listen to you and not being able to. So now we're connected.
Okay, so what I was saying is actually, what I was saying was I was nervous that you were hearing what's going on outside my window here. You weren't hearing anything, unfortunately, but what's going on outside my window is trees being grinded up, chopped down, and grinded up because all up and down the street, even hitting houses around here. There was a storm that came through yesterday, I think it was yesterday, and it knocked down trees everywhere. My dad lives about an hour from me. He told me this morning he'll be without power for a week. And I have another colleague I work with who moved his family into a hotel because they have no power at their house for probably at least a week also. So this is not the biggest problem going on the world
Hmm.
in the world. at all by any means. But it's a first world country, and we're not used to having no power for a week and trees being down everywhere. So,
I think most people in the world today are really not used to living without power. That's like how do you live without power today? I mean, clearly you'll need some alternative sources for like whatever it is, flashlights, candles for light. But I think the biggest problem would probably be, not being able to connect to the internet. I guess that's the
it was beautiful in
anyway.
the morning lesson with our teacher, Dr. Lightman, who said, I think today or yesterday, that that future connection is beyond the computers. It's just the network of the hearts. But
Oh,
we won't jump in so deep yet. So we also had another news story in the last few days. Your neighbors to the north in Lebanon. I mean, there's so much. Um,
yeah,
happening.
that explosion there, by the way, is a very controversial one. I mean, it's the government says something, but like the conspiracy theories are abundant about what's going on there, and
So
it's
right. So same thing with Mariam is saying, let's hear the brilliance now. Okay, we're going to do our best. So it's the same thing with the virus, whether it comes through some bat in China or whether it comes through you know, some military laboratory, or it doesn't what we're going to get to today, and what we're going to well, what we're always doing here is saying there's something behind all of this. Okay, fine. Well, where did that bat come from? Or what is the software behind all of the phenomenon that we see in front of us? Okay, that's what this transition is about. That's what this great transition is about. It's about us not uh, how do we say it? We are everything that we see in life. Asaf, I'm just going to grab this bull by the horns and go. You just
yeah,
let me know
man,
when I
yeah.
had a different
Take us
direction in mind,
take us
but
deeper
okay,
down
wanted
that
to go
rabbit
into
hole, wherever it
okay.
takes us.
Everything we see is coming from nature, okay, and we see it fragmented into thousands of pieces, and we hate most of it. I know there's a
Hmm.
few of you out there who are um, who are saints, but most people. Uh, we hate most of the reality we see, but above all of those shattered pieces that we see, we need to attribute everything to one picture, to one source. So instead of stopping at this 3D picture, we want to see what is behind it. And we need a society around us to stabilize this perception. That's what we're doing here with this show. This is a place where we come and um, we hear about it, we think about it, we feel it together, and we're not an island by ourselves, but in this quantity of people and in this quality of what we're talking about, we start to have some kind of new perception of reality. So nature developed us for billions of years, and of course there's before that, but through all of this development, it put us into some kind of illusion with time and with space. But there is a reality, we'll call it like a reality of truth, where everything actually is connected. And what then is the purpose of all of this lies, all of this horrible feelings we feel when we look outside and we see terrible things happening and we see all of this conflict? um, when we have children and we develop with our children, everybody has this game probably across all cultures, like there you are,
Yeah,
you know,
cuckoo.
there
Don't
you
you
are,
say?
yeah,
Don't
yeah,
you say?
peekaboo, peekaboo,
Peekaboo,
and
peekaboo.
what do you
Okay,
say?
yeah.
What are you gonna say?
Cuckoo, cuckoo.
Cuckoo. Okay, so we
Yeah,
hear
like that.
peekaboo, right?
That's Israelis say cuckoo. Anyway,
And what do your
but
dogs say? Our dogs say woof. What do your dogs say?
have
Hav. Yeah, your dogs say hav. Israeli
have.
dogs say hav hav, and his
So,
English American dogs say woof woof. Okay, that's also interesting. We'll do it. We'll
yeah,
talk about that another
I gotta
time.
ask my wife what the Russian dogs say. I bet that's really funny.
Um,
No, but hey, isn't that interesting that game? I mean, because it really probably relies on some foundations of human nature that have to do with how we perceive and interact with a sense of concealment.
Hmm.
As children, we're excited by the fact that something is revealed and concealed and revealed and concealed. And as we learn from the wisdom of Kabbalah, that's the whole process of human evolution from a spiritual perspective. We are developing through revelation and concealment of
Yeah.
reality, and so it's interesting that it's a globally acknowledged, globally familiar kind of game that children
And
play across all cultures. Really cool.
as soon as we hear or see something, imagine you're a Democrat and you hear Republicans start speaking, or imagine you're a Republican and you hear the first thing, "No, you don't know, no, you're so,"
Yeah.
we don't play the game as adults. We say, oh, look how concealed it is. Look how I'm looking at you and I can't see anything I agree with. Actually, I just want to kill you and get rid of you because you're so stupid and you don't know anything what you're talking about. And we just need to eradicate you. Criticism
Mm-hmm.
is, and I'm going to kind of switch gears a little bit. Criticism is good. It means, are we listening to each other? Do we want to listen to each other? Are we just, one bunch of monkeys just, yeah, at the other group of monkeys? Can there be different opinions? So what we learn in the wisdom of Kabbalah is that this force called the creator, this force of nature, reveals through creation. That's how we kind of interact with it, through creation. And there are, nature developed all different kind of souls, different opinions. And we can then, by listening to each other, by not just negating and wanting to kill or wipe out, or just, if they would just not exist anymore, then everything would be okay. But see, it's like this game. We need to feel less like we are in control of this whole world and more like children about that, in a sense. And of course, we have to use all of our adult faculties. But we're having all of these different observations, and everyone else is having all these different observations. And I know, I see in your country what's going on in the politics is crazy, like it's going on here. And I imagine it's going to start to happen everywhere. We have such different perspectives of reality, but there's one truth behind everything. And if we can start to see that we don't need to kill and eradicate everybody with different opinions than us, but in fact, if I can listen to them and they can listen to me, we begin to sharpen each other and we begin to develop a new perception of reality that, which is, it's not just that we cooperate, it's a whole new way of existence okay, I'm gonna stop talking about this now. Oh, I don't hear you. You're muted.
No,
You're
I'm
muted.
saying, and it's not an easy thing to do. Okay, let's just start hearing each other. I mean, we talked about. I really liked our conversation with Iran Shiovitz, last week, last Sunday, when we kind of discuss about how important it is to recognize that this is a challenge, and this is an evolutionary challenge that we're up against, nothing less than that. This is the big thing that human beings are now facing. How are we going to be able to start learning to coexist and complement each other, to upgrade our level of human connection? So, brother, let's bring in our guest. We have the wonderful Tal Mandelbaum, who's gonna join us every moment now. And so until we see her on the screen, let me just mention to our viewers, because she was on the show once, which was great, and you guys loved her. So hopefully, you were waiting to see her again. She'll be here any second. Tal Mandelbaum is a social psychologist and a longtime Kabbalah student. She's also one of the hosts of the New Life series, which is a very, very out of this world kind of talk show where she and others are communicating with Kabbalist Dr. Michael Leitman about in-depth processes and other aspects of human experience that are now taking place in the world, developing that. So she's doing that from both a Kabbalistic and a psychological perspective. of social psychology. Very interesting stuff. Tal, how are you? Can you hear me?
Hi, yes, can
Hi,
you hear me?
Tal.
Okay, we can hear you. We hear you. We see you. All good. Um,
Yes, I was listening to you guys, so I could
we
just hop in wherever you guys were leaving.
Hop in.
Yeah, hop in. We were just, talk. Okay, I was saying that I think it's important to recognize the challenge. We're dealing with a conflicted human society that is now showing its conflict, across the globe in so many countries. We're seeing people outside on the streets, but even without that, there's racial tension, political tension, um, and we barely are capable of understanding each other, as we said. Um, you know, what's your take on this? Start us up here. What do we do with that? How can we change things?
I do want to talk about this both on the Kabbalistic level and because I know a little bit of psychology, I want to bring you a psychological model that might help us maybe break this apart a little bit more. I want you guys to help me
All right.
take the psychology and see how we can use that. So first of all, I'm going to talk about what Kabbalah has to say about, and continue what you guys were saying, that what's happening right now, and I'm talking about the coronavirus and then all of the other crises that are kind of adding up on top of it. I feel, and I think it's quite obvious, that we're putting in a whole lot of energy trying to create change, right? We want to find a vaccine. We're trying to create all kinds of changes in our reality to stop the virus. And then there's all these people trying to create change in our political environments, in our social environments through riots and through protesting. And we're putting out all of these physical energy, physical actions to try and create change in a reality that, like you guys were talking about, is a lot more complex and is a lot deeper than just that physical level. And just like the virus itself influences not just our body, but also our emotional level, our psychological level, right? I think there's research that shows that our psychological level, our emotional level can also influence our body and the rest of reality. And I think that if we begin to realize that, the change needs to happen not just on the physical level, but on a higher level of our thoughts, emotions, and most of all, the way that we relate to each other, then we will begin to tap into our true potential to create change in our reality. And it really takes a lot of awareness and education to understanding what reality actually is and the more subtle levels of our reality and how we can create change in a more, I would say, in a more positive, but also a more effective way because we're spending so much energy doing things that ultimately will probably not work because there will be more problems coming in, even if we find a vaccine, even if we switch a certain president, there's still going to be problems coming in because we haven't changed things at the root. So that was the first thing that I wanted to
Well,
say.
but let's break this down a little bit. Levels of change. You're saying there are different levels of change. Can you break this down a little bit and talk about maybe put the focus on what is the level of change that we should invest in?
Yes. So, like I was saying, our reality is built of different levels. We have the physical level where we have our bodies and a biological virus. All of this is good. But then we also have the level of our emotions, our thoughts, and the top level is how we relate to each other. And this is where we need to see that we're actually connected in a kind of field of energy or field of connections where we're constantly influencing each other. But because we are naturally in a consciousness of separateness, or as we call it, egoism, we're each self concerned, and perhaps we're not even aware of the way that we're negatively influencing each other constantly.
For
And
sure, we're not aware of how we're negatively influencing each other.
so that is something really important to become aware of, that our constant self concern or our constant state of separateness is not enabling us to feel our connection to the whole. And therefore, we are not influencing the whole in a positive way. It's like a body where the different cells are each acting separately. And we know what that's called in biology, right? That's cancer. That's
Yeah.
cells that are not connected to the whole. So in this way, we are creating illness in our world. on the level of thought, on the level of emotion, of the way that we relate to one another. And so if we really want to create change, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the highest level from which change can happen. That was what I was trying to say.
Okay, so we are today in a situation where clearly every group or every political view or every kind of faction or or economic view or whatever it is, every person even believes that the reason for the disease or the reason for the illness exists in the other side. The problem is that they are wrong and I am right. That they are, whatever they are, they think that this president should be the president, and I think that the other one should be president. And they think that we should do this with the economy, and I think that should be done with the economy. And that conflict is not allowing us to advance. Okay, but what do we do with that? I mean, what are we asking people? Let's try to really understand this. Are we talking about people letting go of their political views, economic views, personal views, all their world views? How do you
I
how do you
mean,
see that? Yeah, how do you see that happening?
I think that's such a big question right now, and I think that we've been dealing with these rifts, this division for so many years, but now it's like it's escalated. It's like the virus is not just biological. It's like you were saying, there's this program in nature that's kind of enhancing our egoism at every stage to greater, degrees. And right now, the ego is like at this peak, and that's why we're seeing so much conflict and such like a everything is sparked up so quickly, and it's so raw. I think we're seeing it here in Israel. We're seeing it all over the world. The tensions are really, really strong, and that is all. We have to relate all of that to our ego that is growing, and nature itself is kind of pushing it to grow. So that is another thing that is important to see, that it's a process, like you guys were saying, and in a way, it's actually a positive thing because it's happening as it should be happening. Our ego is supposed to be growing. We're supposed to be revealing the negative side of our natures, because at some point we're supposed to be, like we said, we're supposed to be realizing that it's harming us, it's hurting us, and to seek for the cure.
This
So
is sorry. This is something that's I just want to insert this in there for a second. You said we need to see the negative part of our what did you say? We need to see the negative.
of our egoism of
Okay, so in the kind of awoken community, it's self-love is a very important thing. Most people went through growing up, and they went through some kind of issues with their parents or issues with the society, or they had a problem in school and they had a problem with their body image and whatever. And so now I'm an adult, and I need self-love. I was abused so long. I was put in such a crappy school system, and nobody understood my feelings as a kid, and I was sad as a child, and they told me that I wasn't allowed to cry because I'm a boy. And now I'm an adult, and I need to love myself because nobody loved me until now. And the wisdom of Kabbalah like takes everything and flips it on its head. It's on the one hand, yes, like everybody needs to feel loved and taken care of, but that technique is kind of a flawed way of going about it. It's funny, and I don't know how to say this in a way that is sensitive right now. So if you're, thank
yes,
God, a sensitive person, you can help smooth my edges. But the wisdom of Kabbalah comes and says, we are, all of us, like, and maybe someone's parents weren't so great to them, or maybe someone had a bad situation in school or whatever, but in general all of humanity has a state that we all what you know where I'm going with this. Maybe you can help me with this.
yeah. Well, first of all, I too went through this process of learning to love myself before I started studying Kabbalah. I felt how necessary that was, and I don't think it's contradictory. I think that in this process that we learn our connection to something bigger than us, to nature, to a higher power. I think we do learn how to let go of the same kind of thoughts about ourselves that made us feel bad. We learn to accept that we are part of something bigger, that we are beautiful, and we are, that is part of it too. I don't think it's all It's negating that at all. And it's like you said, it's a different technique to attain that sense of wholeness, because we are going to feel great. We're going to feel whole. We're going to feel like full of love. We just do it by letting go of our ego, focusing on loving others. And by doing that, by experiencing our connection to others and wanting to give to them, then we become more full of love ourselves, if that makes sense. And we let go of all those negative thoughts that we may have had in our past about what we look like in our self-image and what do people think of me and all of these things. We can learn to let go of all that neurosis in the psychological language that comes with our culture, our narcissistic culture. We learn to let go of that and focus somewhere else, and that is so freeing. And then yes, of course, you are part of nature, you are part of God, or whatever you want to call it, so you become a lot more whole within yourself, if
Oh,
that makes sense,
okay.
by connecting.
Yeah, it to me it makes a lot of sense, and I think that kind of starts to answer the question. So we're saying that no, people we're not expecting people to let go of their existing worldviews or to even start accepting other opposite conflicting worldviews. That doesn't make sense. We're not touching that. We're saying in parallel to that, people need to begin to develop their sense of connection to a greater system that includes all of us as one. We lack this consciousness of being connected to a single system. And on that level of consciousness, we're all one. On that level, our opposites complement. On that level, we are not enemies. We are complementing opposites that build this beauty and harmony of life. On that level, we are the magic of nature that creates life. We need to evolve that level of consciousness in parallel to the existing conflict. That's what's so hard to get your head around. You know what I mean? It's like how do you it's like living in two worlds. This is what we're talking about. If I'm not supposed to convince you that this guy should be president, and you're not supposed to convince me that the other way around, but rather we stay conflicted on that level, and then we also need to elevate our minds and our hearts to another level where we feel interdependently connected to each other, where we have no choice because we're on a single in a single place in a single network. And we have to develop this new sense almost where to feel how nature is connecting us together and pushing us to a higher level. And only then we can start dealing with how do we take what's right, what you want and what I want, and bring it together.
Yes.
That's kind of a yeah.
And
um
it's crazy because if you actually go above the conflict and connect, then you're healing, you're creating healing on that root level that actually heals the physical level. The same problems you were trying to fix by fighting everybody around you, if you rise above that and change your attitude, change your mind, change your thoughts, your energy, then you're creating change. And instead of putting out all that energy and fighting and conflict, then you create change through connection. And that is, I think, the beauty of it. You think that you have to control reality. You think you have to control what happens on the physical level, but all you have to really do is change yourself, and that changes reality.
This is huge that you think you have to create. I mean, you have to. What did you just say? You think you have to manage,
yeah.
Control.
control
I,
reality.
mhm.
It's such a what a freeing experience. I remember when it started to sink into me through this study that, oh, there's like this, where did I come from? I'm not like full all of these qualities. Like I'm not responsible. Like I didn't do this. This is two people had me, and then before them, four people had those two people, and go back. And what can I actually take responsibility for here? I'm not saying I'm not responsible for. People always say, well, you can just do whatever you want, but I'm talking generally here, like what am I responsible for and what are they responsible for? When I'm looking at somebody that I'm arguing with, or who has a different political opinion than me, and if I go back and I see how they were raised and I see the kind of education they had, what am I expecting from this person who is doing exactly what that person would do, who is raised like that person was raised and was educated like that person was educated and had the media that that person was educated? And if we can see that behind all this, there is nature developing all of humanity, all of these billions of pieces together. And then I'm not responsible for nature. Nature is responsible for nature. What am I responsible for? Just agreeing with nature, just saying, oh, I see you. Creator made you too, just like me. Nature made you, and nature made me. And now, like you're saying, when this is what it means. It's not just conflict resolution. It's not just like learning how to listen nicely. No, it's actually getting to that true reality together, where all of us, when I start to feel you, experience you, each of you, then we pass the skin, we get past the skin to what's behind that, to this one force that's animating all reality, that we are. That's fabulous. That's incredible. And it's not just some psychological trick to make it through the afternoon with my spouse so we don't fight with each other. It's really about opening up a whole new level of reality together.
We have an interesting question here. It's actually two questions from someone named Out to Launch Productions on YouTube. I think we saw him here or he or she here before. Anyway, so the question is I'll kind of paraphrase. Is it easier to change ourselves through our thoughts or our actions? And along the same line, are we more in control of our actions than we are on our thoughts? So let's try to shed some light on the difference here. Thoughts, actions, change. How does that work?
Well, I can start. I think that if we only try to change things with our actions, obviously that will not create sustained or lasting change that we want. We have to change on the inside for reality to change in a significant way. However, there are certain actions that we can take to help our internality change. For example, we can listen to a podcast. We can put ourselves in a positive environment that influences our thoughts and emotions in a positive way. We can take a course. We can develop ourselves. So if we create the physical conditions for internal change to happen within us, of course, we need this level. Otherwise, we wouldn't have this world at all. It's built in a way that it gives us the opportunity to start rising from it into our higher levels of being or consciousness. So we need to learn how to use this world and the conditions that it allows, but so that we can create that inner change, which is the truly important one.
That's great. I want to add to something you just inspired in me. You talked about how um, we can't just look at the level of actions, and when we consider change, it has to involve the human thinking, the human mind, the human heart, the human psyche. This is the kind of change we need. And I would say like this: nature wants us to understand it. It's not just I think there was a question. There was a
Yeah, let me
question.
put this let me put this question out for both of you then.
Yeah,
Sam Donald on Facebook says,
there you go.
why does the creator put this challenge and make us suffer in life? Why doesn't the creator help us?
Exactly. Sam Donald, you are right on the money. That's exactly what I was going for. Yeah. Nature wants to develop us and to raise us to a level where we come to a certain kind of sympathy with its plan for us. We need to become conscious and sympathetic to what nature wants from us. That is not on the level of our actions. The actions are side effects or additional extensions of human consciousness, but the change needs to happen on a deeper level. And it's just like, I think, Seth, you gave a really good example when we were talking about something similar about, the husband that does everything that he needs to do in the house, but he doesn't express the love, the affection, the attention that his wife really wants from him. And this is what nature wants from us. Nature wants our attention, and we become attentive to nature's plan for us when we think about our connection to each other. That's the thing that is so weird that we kind of need to, I think, work more on bringing together. Why is it that, when we become in sync with each other, when we complement each other, then we also find some sync with nature itself. Anyway.
Do you guys want me to talk about the psychological model?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah.
We want you to tell us everything.
Everything.
Yeah.
Okay. You were saying that you were asking, why is it that when we connect with each other, we also connect with nature, right? So that made me think of the psychological model that I wanted to show
Yes.
you.
Please say some things about it. That would be great.
It's called TILT, Teaching Individuals to Live Together. It's based on psychological developmental models like Erickson and others. And it basically says that our development happens in two axes. One is our ego development, and the second one is our attachment to others. And I like this model because, unlike other psychological models, it says that they are not conflicted, that our inner growth, our ego's growth, is not in conflict with our attachment to others. In fact, the more our ego grows, the more we can connect to others. And I have an image of how that happens if you want to help me look at it and try and kind of analyze it. So I'm going to share my screen for a second. There it is. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what you can see here are three stages of healthy evolution, according to the psychological model. And the circle in the middle is our ego. And the square around it is our boundaries or walls that we put up to protect ourselves in our relationships. Okay? So what we're looking at, these three squares, is actually one stage of our evolution. Could be kindergarten, next stage could be school, next stage could be university, and so on. So in every such life stage, what this model says is we go through a process where our ego goes from being, you see this kind of line that is not very strong. Our ego is not very strong. We don't really know the land. We don't have the tools to cope with that new level that we're on. So our ego is still quite afraid. And then it puts up these walls around it to protect itself. It can't really attach to others. And then the more we evolve in that certain stage, our ego becomes stronger, more developed. We know what to do. We know who we are. We're more self-aware. We're more individuated, as it's called. And then gradually, as we become more individuated and our ego becomes stronger, we're also able to let down our guard, let down our walls, and potentially, or according to theory, we're supposed to also be able to attach to other people. And now what's interesting about this model is that at every stage, we do what's called a forward regression. We move forward, but we actually go backwards to the beginning of that stage. So what I have to say about this model, I hope you guys were able to follow it.
Yeah, make it
yeah, maybe, but
simpler.
Summarize it for us with like those three steps I think you mentioned. Maybe just kind of give us a summary.
What it's really saying is that our healthy development, our healthy individuation involves not just like loving ourselves more, like you said before, but being able to attach and create relationships and connect to others. And these two things have to happen together. As we grow, as we evolve, so does our ability to connect need to evolve. Now, this is just a theory, this is just a model. And I think that to be able to really make that happen in reality, that's where we need Kabbalah. That's where we need actual methods to teach us how to connect. Because what we see in reality is you take two very evolved egos and they don't really know how to create that connection.
Clearly.
So, yes. But the point of this model is we have to learn. We have to learn how to live together. We have to learn how to merge these two things of our growing ego and our connection. They're not negated. They have to be something that happens together. And it's telling us that at every stage, it's very natural that we will feel that we don't know who we are or what's supposed to happen, because that is the way nature works. It always forward regresses us into new stages of evolution.
Okay.
That is helpful. I think that does shed some light. I mean, the fact that psychologists did understand a lot about how um, we as humans, we are it's change is a traumatic experience for us. It's something that, when it's funny when you think about animals changing, they also go through some processes of change, but it all kind of just happens. With humans, we enter this existential uh, questioning mode. I don't know how to call it. Like and we have to be taught. We have to learn. We have to get it into our system, sort of through a resistance. That's what I'm trying to say. Change for
Ahmad,
us. Yeah. Go ahead.
go ahead. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying. What I'm noticing is any kind of change for the human being involves resistance, involves challenge, involves effort, involves exertion, and that effort is the stuff that the stuff of human consciousness. That's the substance that develops, that from which we build the new human. The next level of the human being.
Okay,
Yeah.
Ahmad in Pakistan is the next level of the human being. He's asked a bunch of questions already,
All right.
and it looks like he's a young guy, and he's burning on fire here to know, what is this process? How do I find myself? Is there something? Is there some third party between me and my soul? He's asking all of the right questions. Um, in in short, here, if we're gonna kind of tie everything together that's been going on in the show so far, there's nothing that was made by accident. The things that we see outside of us that are seem conflicting, we don't need to kill them and eradicate them from reality. And um, where I saw you also asked, how do I find my soulmate and all these things. I don't know if we're gonna have enough time to get into everything, but according to what Asaf just said and what Tal was explaining, we're working with two opposite forces. We're working with the force where I feel empty and I feel terrible and I feel worthless. And then on the other side, we're talking about this perfect, whole, integrated reality. And I think we've almost said it on every show now that if you have a small battery, you can generate, if you have a small plus and minus, like in your, on a watch or something like that, you can generate enough power to turn the hand around the watch. And if you have a bigger battery, maybe you can drive a car or something like that. And if you have a huge plus and a minus, if you can do what Tal is hopefully going to teach us how to do or talk to us about in the next 15 minutes, if you can figure out a way to bring, not figure out, if you learn the method that we've learned through the wisdom of Kabbalah, and Tal as a psychologist probably can explain it very clearly, between these plus and the minus, we can generate a huge power, which is called the soul, which is called our connection to the creator. And then we perceive a whole new reality because we, as if, perceive we rise above this protein reality into a different perception of reality.
I I gotta add a word here for Ahmad here, first of all, because it's really exciting to have someone from Pakistan here. I don't know if we have Pakistan before on the show. Maybe you're the first, Ahmad. Uh,
Sure.
and probably it's worthwhile to read our to do a global check in a second. But just a word about finding your soul, because it really is. It's a very Kabbalistic question, so we can answer it Kabbalistically. But we were just talking about that. If you think about it, when we are talking about finding connection to a deep inherent connection that exists between you and all the other people, we are talking about finding your soul. That is one and the same. According to the wisdom of Kabbalah, you don't find your soul by deeply scrutinizing who you are and what you are and what you feel like and what you are, what qualities you were born with, or somewhere, deep within your individuality. No, it's actually the connection between you to the rest of reality that exists within you that you need to find and explore and research and discover. And that is the discovery of your soul. And when we come to that, we start discovering that we're all connected in a single collective soul. Kabbalists refer to it as the collective soul, Adam HaRishon. It's a concept in the wisdom of Kabbalah. Won't get deeper into that, but we are interconnected in a single collective spiritual entity. When we make an effort to connect to each other on a deep level, we find our connection to that collective soul, and that's our individual soul. So thank you for being here, Ahmad. I don't know if it's your first show or anything, but great to have you here. Seth, Tal, do you guys want to hear some more places that are
Yeah. Tell us
connected?
where everybody's from.
Okay, we have special people who are who are aware of and are aiming for the next level of human development, who want to go through this great transition together and make the best of it. From Nairobi, Kenya, from Italy, from Israel, from Paris, from Mexico, from Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, from Israel, I said, from Toronto, from Central America, from Nicaragua, from London, New York, Tyner, Kai, San Diego, Utah, New York, another place in New York, Czech Republic, India, Vancouver, Ohio, Northern California, Asheville, North Carolina, Portland, Oregon, Washington State, Pakistan, as we heard, Nigeria, and Egypt. That's amazing. That is incredible. This is power, you guys and gals. This is the kind of power that we need, a power of human consciousness coming together, aspiring to the next level of human development. All right.
I got a question.
Yeah.
I got a question. Tal, if you got an angle to go with, go for it. But if not, I got a question for you.
Okay, I had something I wanted to bring up. When you were talking about creating that higher level above conflict, I was thinking about even our most personal experiences of relationships where we feel our ego unable to connect to our spouse or partner or whoever it is. And I think we feel that all the time in our conflicts, those two forces that you were talking about, ourself and the other, and how difficult it is to create that bridge. And so I was hoping that we would be able to crack that question. How do we do that? How do we make that bridge between self and other, especially when we disagree, especially when we're conflicted? I don't know if your question had anything to do with that, but I'd really like that we'd be able to solve that for.
I think that was my exact question.
Okay. Let's try to create that solution, because I think we all feel that in our lives. We feel that tension between our ego, which is what we think, what we believe, what we feel, how hurt we are maybe by somebody, or what we experience in our reality, that tension between that and being able to accept the other's point of view, the other person's reality, and create a bridge between us that raises us above that situation. In so many opportunities in our life, we're just not able to do that. So what do you guys think? What's going to help us to create that change?
I need you to tell us because I disagree with some people so much that there's no way I'm gonna ever change my mind. So I need you to help me.
Well, if you ask me, I know that what usually happens in a fight, let's say you have a fight and you hold on to your ideals and to your opinions, especially if it happens in a relationship, and it feels good while you're doing it. But then afterwards, when kind of the heat goes down, you feel bad about it. You feel that it created a distance. It tore the relationship, and you feel that maybe even you feel bad and you regret it. And I think that
I,
that
I
kind of
want to add.
accumulates.
I want to add like just a quick thing through it. I feel it as like when it happens to me, I feel it as addictive behavior. That's what it
Right,
feels like. It feels like
exactly.
it's like maybe I don't even want to do it, but I'm still doing it because there's a certain kind of like addiction that's being satisfied here.
Right.
That's
And you
kind
want to
of
let out all that stuff that is
mm-hmm.
inside you and that feels good in the moment, like an addiction.
Yeah.
But afterwards, you get the hangover and you're like, oh, why did I do that? I feel bad about it. I want to go apologize. I want to fix it.
Right.
And I think that when that awareness accumulates in us and we get to a point where we feel like we don't want to live like this anymore, we don't want to get into these energy depleting conflicts where we just end up hurting each other and saying things we don't mean and ruining our relationships and our environments because this obviously affects everybody around us if you have kids and all that. So if we come to a point where we're like we have to stop, we got to stop, I think that kind of acknowledgement is what we need on our personal scale and also on a societal scale where we're like what are we doing, we can't continue like this anymore. And I hope that when we reach that wall, we reach that cry out, then we will also be able to magnetize the solution. And we have to make that solution available. The solution is really, it's a process, it's a system that we need to kind of learn and implement on ourselves, which is everything that we've been talking about, is how to learn to feel our interconnectedness, to feel that we are not enemies, that even if we're different, there is something bigger that connects us and it is operating us from the inside. And if we can see that we have one common source that is our goal, then I think that is the only way that we can rise above our conflicts. But it has to come through a deep change within us, and that it has to be a process that we undergo.
Yeah, this requires some education. I don't think this can happen overnight for people. I mean, probably not something that's going to happen overnight, but will be a process of us understanding. And this is um, who asked before, Saf, why do we suffer? But this the virus
Sam
that
Donald asked us.
and some explosion somewhere and some tornado somewhere and some hurt and some tsunami somewhere. If we can make these changes, if we can bring these pluses and minuses together proactively, meaning we start maybe on some live show twice a week with 100 people from around the world, and we start to say, oh wow, there's a lot of people here from, man, imagine if we were all in a room together, after doing the show 50 times and we all got to meet each other, even if we're from different political backgrounds, different sexual orientations, different religions. We would, oh my God, that's you. Oh, I love looking at your comments. Or well, we share something and we share some kind of vision together that we would be able to overcome it. If we can do it, if we can start bringing the pluses and minuses together inside of ourselves, then because we're in this integral system of nature, we don't need to have these blows like the viruses can be here. You got 1 trillion viruses in your body. They don't all make you sick and make you shut down the economy and stay at home and everything. We can exist in harmony with everything in nature if we can be more than just some monkey, who's just reacting to everything. But if we can do this work, Tal, you started off the show by talking about the power of thought. If we can activate this, we really have the opportunity to move into a new kind of life.
I think we need to envision it. We need to have a vision in our thoughts of what that would be like, what it would feel like. And if we think that, like if a lot of people think that together, then that will certainly have an influence on our reality. We have to make an alternative reality in our vision so that we know where we're headed. And that's why like talks like this are so important because it's helping us visualize where we want to go. And that is the first step to actually achieving it.
Um, there's a question here, probably the last one we can take right now before we have to wrap up. We there's some people are saying in the comments that it's very interesting and enlightening to see kind of the language of psychology versus the language of Kabbalah, and the interesting kind of parallels that Tal is drawing as a social psychologist. And Naila is asking, I hope I'm pronouncing the name correctly, is asking how can the wisdom of Kabbalah can be part of the education system, especially starting from kindergarten levels. And I want to say to that, you guys add, but I want to say exactly with the help of people like Tal and others who can make those bridges, and ultimately maybe not the hardcore wisdom of Kabbalah that you know that we are engaged in on a daily basis, but the stuff that we're talking about here, the the tools that we can provide in terms of developing a new sense of connection in people, that is definitely something that the world needs, that society needs, that our culture needs. Not just schools, kindergartens, and educational institutions, but we need that. We need to be surrounded by that. Just think, for if for 1 week, 1 week we wouldn't be washed by the media, by mainstream media, with conflict and negativity, and just a sense of that constantly inflames our survival instinct. Just think what would happen if we focused on our connection and our interdependence, and the fact that we depend on each other, that in today's world everyone's well-being is interdependent, intertwined with each other. Just think about washing ourselves with that on a massive level for a week. Don't you Is it so hard to imagine that people will suddenly be able to rise above the worldviews they're entrenched in, and begin to see how they connect to a single system, to a single body? Is it really that impossible? I think we are so brainwashed and addicted to our inherent, to our our instinctive nature, that we are not allowing ourselves to make the effort. We're not encouraging and rewarding the effort of rising to a new level of consciousness. And that's why it seems so hard. But the moment we start reward it and show that example to each other, it will be easy. It will be adventurous and amazingly beautiful, and we'll discover a whole new reality and our whole new selves. We'll discover that we are bigger, greater, that we can expand on the inside to include all the other people within us. We'll discover that they're part of us. I'm sorry I took all your time. Guys, say something to wrap this up, because we gotta do that.
Well, I think it doesn't have to start even at kindergarten. I think we can start much earlier than that. And I think we can start even at pregnancy. We can start to infuse our minds with these thoughts of connections and grow our babies into this kind of mentality, and wire their brains in that way. And in fact, I am creating content for pregnant women. If anybody wants that kind of environment for them, if they're
Yes, we do.
pregnant with.
We do. I'm planning to be pregnant when if evolution will allow me. But if I was able to, I would be interested. Probably some of our viewers are. Where can we
Oh,
find
the whole
it?
planet needs it, Tal.
Where can we
What's
find
that?
it?
The whole planet needs it.
Yes, I think so. I think we're all being born into this new
So
level,
where can we
and we
find it? Where can we find what you're working on, if it's possible, or it's still in the
no,
works?
no, you can find it if you are pregnant and you want to join. You can go to choosingtoconnect.com/5 day baby bonding challenge. I'm doing a free challenge next week. So if you're pregnant and
Okay,
you
hold
want,
on. Let's do
You,
the
you're
URL one
you're
more
gonna
time.
need to put that link in the chat. I think is what needs to happen.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Can you do it on Facebook and YouTube just so everyone can see it?
Yes, if
Okay,
you
thank you.
guys know anybody that's pregnant and can benefit from a positive environment like that, so be free. Feel free to send that link. I'll say it again: choosingtoconnect.com/5 day baby bonding challenge. It's gonna be 5 days of positive thoughts and intentions, just like Asaf said. 5 days where you can envelop yourself in that kind of environment, so that you can give your baby those messages right from the start, and also feel empowered and supported yourself, which is so important, especially now with all the tension going on. So I'll put that link where it needs to go.
Thank you.
On that note, we're preparing ourselves for the real pregnancy of humanity, the pregnancy of the new world. We're all being gradually grown in the womb of nature, and our job here is to, try to work on our positive attitude to this whole process, this great transition that is happening anyway. So might as well go through it joyfully, positively, and do it together. We'll be here next Sunday, 2 p.m. as always, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. Sunday, the Great Transition. We will be here. Everyone's invited to sing with us. There's a new song that we're gonna hear, Seth.
New song? Okay, that's me.
Can you play it then? Can you play it from your computer?
I sure can. Boom, there.
While you find it, maybe only share your audio.
Yeah, that was an accident.
While you will find it, say a word about it too.
This is a song about being born into a spiritual reality, meaning we finished our reality of our protein development. We are the top creature, and now we need to develop in our hearts and our minds into a reality where we start to perceive everything as one, as something that's connected, and seeing that in everyone, and also that this virus that came as a very kind of gentle hand to change. We didn't need a world war in order for humanity to start this process, but instead we have this virus that seems to be killing 0.00 whatever percent. I mean, anyone who dies, it's not a great thing, but it's not a world war. It's not huge bombs being dropped everywhere. It's here we go.
Wait, I made a mistake. Next Sunday is we're gonna have the amazing Tony Kosenek doing a Q&A. The Great Transition will be here next Thursday, 2 p.m. Eastern. Sorry for that. Play it.
Okay, so we'll be back on next Thursday at 2.
Yeah.
Okay. This song is called First Breath, and I'm sure in one of these upcoming shows we'll bring all of the friends who made this song with us, Tosh from the UK, and Aaron from Baltimore, Maryland, and Danny and Nadav from Israel, and myself in New Jersey. Here it is. It's called First Breath. Tal, amazing to have you with us. Asaf, as always, my brother. Great. See you soon, everyone.
To be alive on what is left, to float above the light, just to ask, to be in love with you. I'm watching from the outside. I wanna do what you do, just to run in a field that is blessed, and to come just to hunt in a field that is blessed, and to come with you and rest. Messed up, gotta block the call. Masking up my heart from egoistic thoughts. Learning all the lessons that this pressure gave us. Wanna save myself, I gotta save my neighbors. Slowly recognizing egoistic nature. Showing us connection is the only savior. We gon' come together, plow these fields of hatred. All is one with sowing seeds of love relations. You shatter these walls, unsettle this heart from the chains of time. Then we soar through oceans in the sky, all through the cold. To be in love with you, watch you with a bird's eye. See the world is filled with you. Just to run in a field save us. Viruses, the hatred, unity gon' vaccinate us. True immunity from all the things that separate us. Everything is only for the good, it's all to change us. Yeah, so with tears and we reaping joy. Ego is the evil seeking to destroy. Education covering the hate with love. Revelation blessings raining from above.
Just to hunt in a field that is blessed, and to come home with you and to rest. Just to